So, good morning, everyone. I would like to say it is a pleasure being here today and thank WTG for this opportunity. So, the topic of this presentation, sustainable packaging, of course, it's a bit broad. We know that there is a lot more regarding sustainability in packaging than just the biopolymer that could be used for. In the next presentation, I guess Andrew from Mark and Spencer's will talk about a bit broader of this concept of sustainability in packaging and also about recyclability and all this stuff. But here I will talk about sugarcane-based polyethylene and sugarcane-based polypropylene as a biopolymer for improving the sustainable profile of your packaging. So during my presentation, I'll pass through these four main topics, trying to explain you how sugarcane-based polyethylene and polypropylene could help you improve your sustainable profile. So the first one and very important one that we need to talk is about Brazil. So this unique framework for green chemicals development. Most people still don't know Brazil yet. And it is very important when you evaluate sugarcane-based polyethylene and polypropylene, also to evaluate the Brazilian scenario, the Brazilian sugarcane scenario. So why is Brazil that unique framework for green chemicals development? So first of all, Brazil is a continental dimension country. Just to have an idea, Brazil is 24 times the size of Germany, and about 35 the size of United Kingdom. Brazil has the world's largest biodiversity and a watershed. Brazil has also intense solar radiation and climate diversification. And besides, Brazil is a pioneer in research and development of biofuels for more than 35 years old. So just transforming this framework into some figures. Here you have the Brazilian electric energy matrix. Here you have some very interesting figures that help us understanding that. So in this first chart here, you have showing that Brazil has 80% of its electric energy matrix based on renewable sources. Of course, most of them is hydroelectric energy. So Brazil is the world's largest watershed in the world. But also you have very important 4% here that is based on biomass. And this biomass here is sugarcane bagasse that is burned in Brazil to produce bioelectricity, most of it. Comparing to the US, you have just 10% of renewable-based electricity. Going to the entire Brazilian energy matrix, you have Brazil showing as 46% renewable source energy. And here you have a strong impact of ethanol in Brazil. So about 50% of the cars in Brazil are tanked with ethanol. More than 85% of the current car production are flex fuel cars. So you can tank it with ethanol or gasoline. You can just decide it at the gas station. So in Brazil, you are using a lot of ethanol. That's the main market actually for ethanol in Brazil. So that gives us 46% of renewable source energy matrix. Comparing to developed countries and developing countries, that's a very higher number. Other very interesting figures regarding Brazil is the arable land availability. Brazil is already a very large country, but more than that, Brazil has a very large availability of arable lands, and most of them are pasture and islands. If you take these figures, it's just amazing. And this is important to point out because sugarcane growth in Brazil is going to this area here based on regulation and based on because it's the land that we have available there for growing sugarcane. So another topic that I would like just to give you some few words about Braskem, and also our sustainability strategy. So Braskem is currently the largest thermoplastic resin producer in Americas and also a global leader in biopolymers. So we play in the first and second generation of the petrochemical chain. So we buy from the market the naphtha or the gas, and also now the ethanol. And produce the basic petrochemicals, so the ethylene, propylene, all the basic petrochemicals, and also produce the polymers, so polypropylene, polyethylene, PVC, but the element pellets. Then we sell these pellets to the third generation, that's the converters, right, that are most of you here also your suppliers. So Braskem is now has 35 industrial facilities in the world, most of them in Brazil, but also 5 in the US and 2 here in Germany, in the cities of Schkopau and Wesseling. Braskem has, and this figure just increased last year with the acquisition of down polypropylene assets. So going further to our sustainability strategy, Braskem has a very ambitious vision for 2020, that is to be the world leader in sustainable chemistry. And that, of course, is even the concept is something that we are still evaluating and learning about it. But that's something that our biopolymers strategy will have a very strong importance for us. So all the projects in Braskem are based on these 3 pillars of sustainability today. So not just sustainable portfolio of products, but also sustainable operations and social responsibility. So this is the biopolymers strategy that we have, and it is basing and guiding our business today. So we consider that we are still in the first wave of this strategy that we consider as a pre-marketing wave. Here is where we have this current 200,000 tons per year plant of green polyethylene, and also the wave where we will build the green polypropylene plant that will start production next year. So the second wave is a wave for growing the capacities, increase competitiveness, and also to reach more clients and applications. And in the third wave, this consolidation of the market, keep growing, and also to launch a new biochemical route for green polypropylene. Here just a picture to show you. This is the plant of green polyethylene in Brazil. It is located in the South Brazil, was investment of $290 million, and is currently producing. So with that plant, this is the largest biopolymers plant in the world, we became leaders in biopolymers. So speaking now about sugarcane-based polyethylene and polypropylene, that we strongly believe that they are innovation based on sustainable pillars. Basically, just talking about the concept normally, so the polyethylene is produced by naphtha or gas, fossil-based sources. Now what Braskem is doing is producing the same polyethylene with sugarcane-based ethanol. And when we point sugarcane, is important because ethanol you can get conventionally from corn, like in the US, or from beet here in Europe, or from sugarcane, normally in Brazil, in India, and some other place in the world. Brazil is using sugarcane-based ethanol, and that is important to point out because that gives the environmental profile, the sustainable profile of the ethanol we use. So to use ethanol based on sugarcane is completely different than using ethanol based on corn or an ethanol based on beet. And so it's important to point out that our ethanol is sugarcane based. Going to our life cycle of the green polyethylene, you realize here that different from a conventional polyethylene, you have in the beginning of the chain a sugarcane plantation and an ethanol distillery. So instead of having a refinery extracting the oil, you have the sugarcane plantation, where the sugarcane, through the normal photosynthesis process of a plant, captures a lot of CO2 from the atmosphere. So the atmosphere that goes to the sugarcane here will be carried until the green polyethylene. So the next step is to produce the ethanol, and sugar mills in Brazil have also a very interesting profile because they produce not just ethanol and sugar, but also bioelectricity. So most of the sugar mills in Brazil are self-sufficient in electricity. So they burn the bagasse, this co-product of the sugarcane process, and generate their own electricity. And even they have an axis that they could sell to the normal grid in Brazil. So after that, Braskem comes in buying this ethanol from the market. This is the facility we built and started the production by the end of 2010. So this is a dehydration plant. We take the ethanol, just dehydrate it, taking out the molecule of water, and then we get the ethylene. And so the molecule of ethylene we get here has exactly the same chemical and technical properties as a conventional ethylene. So after that, we have the conventional process of a normal polyethylene. So this ethylene goes to a polymerization plant. We are actually using the same polymerization plant we had before that also polymerized conventional polyethylene. This polyethylene goes to the normal converter industry, and the products are recyclable as well. Even you can mix with the conventional polyethylene and you'll have no problems in the recycling stream. So just some interesting numbers about the conversions from sugarcane to ethylene. So with 1 hectare of land, in Brazil we talk a lot about soccer, so here just comparing the size of one soccer field. You can produce 82.5 tons of sugarcane. That is enough to produce about 7,200 liters of ethanol. That will be enough to produce about 3 tons of green ethylene or 3 tons of green polyethylene. Just to have an overview what the consumption of ethanol for this plant represents in Brazil, Braskem is consuming about 460 million liters of ethanol per year to produce the 200,000 tons of green polyethylene. That is equivalent of less than 2% of the Brazilian ethanol production, because most of the ethanol in Brazil is going for fuel. And that is about 65,000 hectares of land. That is about 0.02% of the Brazilian arable lands. So it's really a very short amount of lands that is being used to produce this green polyethylene today. Here just to try to summarize the main strains of green polyethylene. So we have the 3 main pillars that are basing the concept and that we substantiate our claims. So this sugarcane, favorable carbon footprint, I will show you later. And also this specific fat, this very different characteristic of green polyethylene as a biopolymer that is being a drop-in biopolymer. So you don't have to adjust machines, reset up machines. You have the same performance and technical processability. And all of this is allowing us to have very recognized brand adoption and leveraging the business with these global leaders. So it seems a bit confused at first moment, but it's a very interesting figure about the ethanol and shows why sugarcane is so different when you compare to other biosources. So if you take 1 unit of fossil fuel energy, you can get 1.4 units of renewable energy when you have corn-based ethanol. With sugar beet ethanol, you have 2 renewable energy units, but if with sugarcane-based ethanol, you can get more than 9 renewable energy units here. So this energy efficiency of sugarcane that is well recognized already by Food and Agriculture Organization, World Bank, is giving a specific sustainable profile for sugarcane and very different when you compare to other biosources. Other very important fact about sugarcane that is important to clarify, and we many times have those questions, is regarding impact in the Amazon and also food competition. So these arguments or these issues are really considered as myth in Brazil. So there's no impact at all in the Amazon when you plant sugarcane. So first of all, you have no technical conditions to have sugarcane in Amazon. The weather is totally inappropriate to cultivate sugarcane. You have the sugarcane plantations in Brazil more than 2,000 kilometers far from the Amazon, and you have several of regulations not allowing to produce sugarcane in rainforest areas. About the food competition, we say that in Brazil, to produce ethanol, first you need to produce sugar. Actually, the increased demand for sugar, or I mean for food, globally or in Brazil, will increase necessarily the production of ethanol. So the sugar mills in Brazil, they are always producing sugar and ethanol. Ethanol is almost a co-product of the sugar production in Brazil. And also when you look to the area dedicated to produce sugarcane for ethanol, you realize that's a very small amount of area. So the entire ethanol production uses 1.5% of the Brazilian arable lands. When you take the ethanol production that is going for the green polyethylene, then you have 0.02% of the arable lands. Even comparing to other crops, you'll see that the amount of area dedicated to sugarcane in Brazil is still low. But there's other issues regarding sugarcane in Brazil that we need to take care, not just Amazon deforestation and food competition. And so that's why Braskem has created a code of conduct for ethanol suppliers that take care about all the other biodiversity issues, also human labor and labor respect, also social responsibility issues and everything. So we have this code of conduct that has several rules and targets that our ethanol supplier must follow to become a ethanol supplier of Braskem. And just to certify and validate all these sustainability claims, we had this certification process by ISCC, this International Sustainability and Carbon Certification, last year. So we got certified by ISCC. It's a very well-recognized German institution that certifies environmental and social aspects for the entire life cycle of the green polyethylene from the sugarcane plantation until its production. So here, going to the carbon footprint that I mentioned, is the other strong pillar of strength of green polyethylene. Just a comparison of conventional polymers and sugarcane-based polymers. Taking a conventional polyethylene, numbers of plastics Europe, you have about 2.1 tons of CO2 equivalent emissions per tons of polymer produced. If you take green polyethylene, you'll find about minus 2.5 tons of CO2. So it's 2.5 tons of CO2 being captured per ton of green polyethylene produced. So the difference is about 4.6 tons of CO2 less emissions per ton of green polyethylene now replaced. So if you take that for the Braskem production of 200,000 tons per year, you find about 920,000 tons of CO2 avoided emissions per year. That is equivalent of by 1 million cars per year emissions. So if you take that to your carbon inventories, you probably realize that it's a very interesting number. Normally it could impact even 10-15% of the normal company's carbon inventories. So next slide, just to reinforce, after a long talk, always that question comes at the end, okay, but how long takes to biodegrade it? So that's just a very important point to reinforce, that the green polyethylene is recyclable. It has the same mechanical and technical performance as a conventional polyethylene. So you can take it to the normal recycling stream. It will fit perfectly because it has the same chemical properties, the same performance at the end, and all the mechanical specifications that you are used to in a normal polyethylene. Now just moving to green polypropylene. So Braskem has announced by the end of 2010 the project of building a plant of green polypropylene. The same concept, sugarcane based, will bring all that sustainable benefits from the sugarcane as well. So it will be a plant of minimum 30,000 tons per year capacity, an investment of $100 million, and will be launched by second half of 2013. So next year we should have the production. Here's just the timeline of the project. We are currently in the basic and engineering phase, and we should this year, next year, start building the plant. So the process is very similar to the green polyethylene. You have as well sugarcane at the beginning of the chain. The only difference is as you are starting with 2 carbons from the ethanol, and now you need 3 carbons for the propylene, for the polypropylene. So you need a step in the middle together. So we are using the green ethylene that we are currently producing. We will debottleneck this plant to get more green ethylene from here, and then we'll produce the green propylene, and then the process follows the same path as the conventional polypropylene, as for the green polyethylene. And Braskem, of course, is still buying ethanol from the market and not producing ethanol. But Braskem is trying to improve this route. Of course, this step more that we have is adding costs for us. So we don't consider green polypropylene route as competitive as the green polyethylene route. So we are investing with partnership with Novozymes and some Brazilian universities to develop a biochemical route to polypropylene. So he just shows that this development started in September 2008, and now we are in partnership also with our laboratory for biosciences developing this biochemical route. And here shows the evolution of this development. So we consider that this first plant of green polypropylene will be just a first step to prove the technology, to help our clients also being a pioneer in this market. A second step will be to have larger capacities, improving a little bit the cost competitiveness of green polypropylene. And the third wave related to the biopolymers strategy, or the third step here for our biotechnological route, is to have this breakthrough technology. This breakthrough technology will bring us a better sustainable profile and also a hopefully a bigger competitiveness. That should occur about 2020. And just to finish, I would like to show you some Greenpeace success cases, and these cases are really leveraging all these biopolymers markets. That's my opinion. Without those guys, really biopolymers market won't go further. And I believe this kind of biopolymer, drop-in biopolymer, is probably the second generation of biopolymers. I don't know what the future of biopolymers, everybody's calling it somehow, but is the only way to get to these guys using drop-in biopolymers as green polyethylene and polypropylene. So Coke launched in the US the Odwalla bottle, also called as plant bottle, but in this case up to 100% plant-based, because it is made of HDPE, high-density polyethylene, and the green version, and the homopolymer, and you can reach almost 100% green content. Different from the PET plant-based that is up to 30% bio-based. So Danone also in Europe launched Actimel. In Brazil has also Activia and Danone brand. Procter & Gamble with the Pantene bottle for shampoos. Johnson & Johnson also launched a sun care product in Brazil. A partnership with Nestle and Tetra Pak in Brazil launched the cap of this milk bottle, Ninho and Molico. Have also other packaging brands like Chanel here in Europe, Natura in Brazil, also a cosmetic company, Shiseido in Japan, Yuhan Kimberly in South Korea with this diapers packaging. Is here in France with waste bags and freeze bags, and also Ecovir here in Europe with HDP blow molding grades. So you have most of these samples at our booth. You are very welcome there to take a look, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Rodrigo, for a very clear and detailed presentation there.